Alex Corvinian had everything except someone who loved him for who he was. So the tech billionaire disguised himself as nobody, walked into the wrong alley, and met the right woman. Too bad she was already engaged to the man who would try to kill him. Welcome back to Proudly Black Stories, my beautiful, amazing Pride family. You all have been so supportive, and I promise to always try my best to give you the best stories as I learn and improve every day. If this is your first time coming across my video, do comment below where you're watching from and hit subscribe to officially join the Pride family. Now, let's get into today's story. The sunset over downtown Austin painted the sky in shades of burnt orange and deep violet, colors that should have been beautiful but felt hollow to Alex Corvinian as he stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse. $40 million, this place had cost him. The view stretched across the entire city, from the Colorado River winding through downtown to the hills that rolled endlessly toward the horizon. $4.7 billion sat in various accounts, investments, properties scattered across 3 continents. At 32 years old, he owned half the tech startups in Texas, had been featured on the cover of Forbes 6 times, and had presidents of companies twice his age calling to ask for his advice. He had never felt more empty in his entire life. Alex pressed his palm against the cool glass, watching the tiny cars below move like ants through the streets, people heading home to families, to friends, to lives that felt real. When was the last time anything had felt real to him? When was the last time someone had touched him without wanting something? Every woman who slid her hand into his at galas was calculating his net worth. Every smile at charity dinners came with an agenda. Every friendship was a transaction wrapped in pleasant conversation and expensive wine. His phone buzzed for the 47th time that day. He didn't need to look to know what it was. Investors wanting meetings. Women he dated twice who suddenly needed help with their startup funding. Old college acquaintances who'd ignored him when he was nobody but now wanted to get coffee and catch up. His father had died 3 years ago, the only person who'd known him before the money, before the success, before Alex Corvinian became a brand instead of a person. His mother had passed when he was 12. He was alone in a penthouse that could house 20 people comfortably, surrounded by art worth millions that he barely looked at anymore. The door to his private office opened and Lysander Hawke walked in without knocking, because he was the only person in Alex's life who had that privilege. 35 years old, his business partner since the beginning, the one friend who'd been there when they were coding in a garage and eating ramen for every meal. Lysander took one look at Alex, standing at the window, and sighed. "You're doing that thing again," Lysander said, dropping into one of the leather chairs. The brooding billionaire staring at the city thing. It's very dramatic, but also very concerning. Alex didn't turn around. Do you remember what it felt like? Before all this? Before we had money you could actually sleep on and indoor plumbing that worked consistently. Lysander stretched his legs out. Not particularly fondly, no. Before every person who looked at us saw dollar signs, Alex said quietly. When someone laughed at your joke, it was because it was actually funny, not because they wanted something from you. When a woman went home with you, it was because she liked you, not because she was calculating how to become the next Mrs. Tech billionaire. Lysander was quiet for a moment. This is about Miranda, isn't it? Alex finally turned from the window. Miranda had been the last woman he'd tried to date seriously. Beautiful, intelligent, worked in non-profit sector, so he'd thought maybe, just maybe, she was different. They dated for 4 months before he'd overheard her on the phone with her friend, laughing about how she just had to hold out a little longer and she'd never have to worry about money again. The engagement ring he'd been carrying in his pocket for 2 weeks had gone back to the jeweler the next day. It's about all of them, Alex said. It's about realizing that no one has seen me, just me, in so long that I don't know if there's anything left to see. I could die tomorrow and the headlines would be about my stock portfolio, not about who I actually was. Okay, Lysander said slowly. You're officially scaring me now. Do I need to call someone? A therapist? Your doctor? Alex walked to his desk and pulled out the bottom drawer, removing a worn denim jacket and a pair of jeans that had seen better days. "I'm going out." "You're always going out. You went to that tech conference in San Francisco last week." "Not like that," Alex said, starting to unbutton his $1,500 shirt. "I'm going out as nobody. Just a guy. I want to walk around and talk to people who don't know my name, don't want my money, don't see me as an opportunity. I want to see if anyone would care about me if I died broke." Lysander sat up straight. "You're going to get yourself killed playing dress-up in the real world. This isn't a movie where the billionaire goes undercover and finds true love at a coffee shop. This is Austin. And there are parts of this city where a guy wandering around alone at night is going to end up in an alley with a knife in his ribs." Alex pulled on the borrowed clothes, items he'd gotten from Miguel, the groundskeeper for his estate. "Maybe that's the point. To see if I can feel something again. Fear, adrenaline, anything besides this," he gestured at the penthouse, "this beautiful, expensive emptiness." Lysander stood and grabbed Alex's shoulder. "I'm serious. If you're having some kind of breakdown, we can get help. Real help. Not whatever this is." "I'm not breaking down," Alex said, and he meant it. For the first time in months, he felt something like clarity. "I'm waking up. I've been sleepwalking through a life that looks perfect from the outside, but feels like nothing from the inside. One night? Lysander. Just give me one night to be nobody and see what it feels like." His best friend stared at him for a long moment, then sighed and released his shoulder. "Take your phone. Keep it on. If you're not back by sunrise, or I don't hear from you every 2 hours, I'm sending security to find you." "Deal," Alex said. He left his Rolex on the desk, then paused and put it back on. It had been his father's, the only thing he had left that mattered. Some things you didn't leave behind, even when you were trying to disappear. He drove Miguel's beat-up truck, a 2008 Ford that rattled when it went over 40 miles per hour, through downtown and toward East Austin. The neighborhoods changed as he drove, from sleek high-rises and trendy restaurants to areas where the buildings showed their age and the streetlights had gaps of darkness between them. He parked near East 6th Street and started walking. Just a guy in worn jeans and a denim jacket, hands in his pockets, no destination in mind. The city felt different from ground level, the smell of food trucks mixed with exhaust and the sweet scent of mountain laurel. Music spilled from open doors of bars where people laughed and argued and lived their lives. A group of college students stumbled past, debating whether to hit another bar or call it a night. An older man sat on a bench feeding pigeons, talking to them like old friends. A couple kissed against a graffitied wall, completely lost in each other. Alex watched them and felt his chest tighten. When was the last time he'd kissed someone and forgotten where he was? When was the last time anything had mattered more than the next meeting, the next deal, the next acquisition? He walked for an hour, just observing, and found himself outside a rundown convenience store with flickering fluorescent lights and bars on the windows. He went inside because he was thirsty, and because it was the kind of place he never went anymore. The clerk barely glanced at him. The aisles were narrow and the floor was cracked linoleum, but it was real in a way his world hadn't been for years. At the counter, a young woman counted quarters with shaking hands, while a little girl, maybe 5 years old, held her mother's leg and watched with huge dark eyes. The woman was trying to buy milk and bread, essentials, but she was coming up short. "I'm sorry," the clerk said, not unkindly. "You're $1.50 short." The woman's face crumpled. She started to put the milk back, but the little girl made a soft sound of distress. "Mama, you said we could have cereal tomorrow." "I know, baby," the woman whispered, and Alex could hear tears in her voice. "We'll figure something out." The little girl looked around as if searching for a solution, and her eyes landed on Alex. She smiled at him. Just a pure, innocent smile that expected nothing and wanted nothing, except maybe a smile back. When was the last time someone had smiled at him like that? Not the calculated smiles at business dinners or the flirtatious smiles from women at charity galas, but just a simple human smile that said, "I see you, and that's enough." Alex's eyes burned. He stepped forward and put a $20 bill on the counter before the clerk could return the items. "This should cover it," he said quietly, "and the rest is for whatever else she needs." The woman turned to him with shock on her face. "Sir, I can't. You don't have to do that." "Already done," Alex said, and he was backing toward the door, because if he stayed any longer he might break down completely. The little girl waved at him and he waved back. Then he was outside in the cooling night air, gulping in breaths and feeling something crack open in his chest. That was real. That moment of simple human kindness, with no cameras, no press releases, no tax write-offs. Just one person helping another because it was the right thing to do. He walked away from the convenience store feeling lighter and heavier at the same time, and he didn't notice the 3 men who'd been standing outside watching him. Didn't notice them pointing at his wrist where his father's watch caught the streetlight. Didn't notice them following him as he turned down a side street, looking for where he'd parked the truck. The night air smelled like rain coming, and Alex tilted his head back to look at the stars. You couldn't see them from his penthouse. Not really. Too much light pollution. But here, in the darker parts of the city, a few brave stars pushed through. His phone buzzed, Lysander's 2-hour check-in, and Alex pulled it out to text back that he was fine. Better than fine, actually, when a voice behind him made him freeze. "Nice watch." Alex turned slowly. 3 men stood blocking the sidewalk behind him. The one who'd spoken had a neck tattoo that crawled up to his jaw, some kind of snake or dragon. The other 2 spread out slightly, boxing him in. What would you do if you were Alex in this moment? Run and risk looking like prey, fight and risk serious injury, or try to talk your way out and hope they're just testing you? "It was my father's," Alex said evenly, not moving toward them or away. "Not for sale." "Wasn't asking to buy it," Neck Tattoo said, and the other 2 laughed. "Looking more like we'll just take it. Save us all some trouble and hand it over. Wallet too." Alex's heart was pounding, but underneath the fear was something else, something sharp and clear. This was real. This was the most real thing he'd felt in years. No boardroom politics, no polite negotiations, just a clear and present danger that made every nerve in his body come alive. "No," Alex said simply. Neck Tattoo's eyebrows went up. "You're either brave or stupid, man. 3 of us, 1 of you. Math doesn't work in your favor." "Maybe not," Alex said, and he could feel adrenaline singing through his veins. "But the watch stays with me. You want to fight? Let's fight. But I'm not giving you the one thing I have left of my father." There was a moment where it could have gone either way. Then Neck Tattoo smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. "Your funeral." They came at him fast. Alex got in one good punch, felt his knuckles connect with someone's jaw before pain exploded across his back. Something hard, a pipe maybe, slammed into his spine, and he went down on one knee. A fist caught him in the mouth and he tasted blood. He swung blindly, caught someone in the ribs, heard a grunt of pain. But 3 on 1, that math really didn't work in his favor. Boots slammed into his side, hands grabbed his wrist, trying to rip the watch off. Alex fought like a wild thing, protecting that one precious item even as his vision started to blur. Another hit to his head, and the world tilted. He was on the ground now, curled around his wrist, blood pouring from his mouth. "This is it," some distant part of his brain thought. "This is how I die. Not in a boardroom or a hospital bed, but in an alley in East Austin over my father's watch." Then a voice cut through the sound of fists and boots, clear and strong and absolutely unafraid. "That's enough. Step back. Now." The beating stopped. Alex blinked through blood and saw a figure backlit by the streetlight at the alley entrance. A woman in scrubs, like she'd just come from a hospital shift. She was holding up her phone, the camera clearly recording, and in her other hand was what looked like pepper spray. "I've got clear photos of all 3 of you," the woman said, and her voice had steel in it. Leave now, or I call the cops and you're looking at aggravated assault charges. With my testimony as a medical professional about his injuries, you're going away for years. Your choice. Make it fast. Neck Tattoo stood up, breathing hard. This isn't your business. I'm making it my business, she said, and Alex could see her finger hovering over her phone. 911 is one button away. And I've already uploaded these photos to the cloud, so breaking my phone won't help you. 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3. They ran. All three of them, disappearing into the darkness like the cowards they were. The woman waited until their footsteps faded completely. Then she moved quickly to Alex's side, kneeling in the gravel and broken glass like she didn't care about her scrubs getting dirty. "Can you hear me?" she asked, and her hands were already moving over him with professional efficiency, checking his head, his ribs, his limbs. Her touch was gentle despite the urgency. "Can you tell me your name?" "Alex," he managed, and more blood spilled from his split lip. Thank you. I'm okay." "You're not okay. You're bleeding from at least 3 places I can see," she said, but there was something almost warm under the brisk professional tone. "Can you stand? I need to get you under a streetlight to see how bad this is." She helped him to his feet, and the world spun, but her hands were steady on his arm, his waist, supporting more of his weight than someone her size should have been able to handle. Under the streetlight, Alex got his first clear look at her. Beautiful didn't cover it. She was stunning in a way that had nothing to do with makeup or expensive clothes. Natural hair pulled back in a ponytail, skin like warm earth, eyes that assessed him with intelligence and concern in equal measure. High cheekbones, full lips pressed together in concentration as she tilted his head to examine the cut above his eyebrow. She was maybe 28 or 29, and even exhausted from what had clearly been a long shift, she moved with purpose and grace. "This needs stitches," she said, pulling a tissue from her purse and dabbing at his bleeding lip with surprising tenderness. "The one above your eye definitely does. Can you see clearly? Any double vision?" "No," Alex said, staring at her. "Single vision. Very clear. You saved my life." "I stopped a mugging," she corrected, but a tiny smile flickered at the corner of her mouth. "Let me see your ribs." She pressed gently along his side, and Alex hissed in pain. "Possibly cracked," she said. "You need x-rays. There's an ER 5 blocks from here. I can drive you, or we can call an ambulance." "No," Alex said quickly. "No hospitals. I'll be fine." She sat back on her heels and gave him a look that clearly said she dealt with stubborn patients regularly. "You possibly have cracked ribs, you definitely need stitches in 2 places, and you might have a concussion. You need a hospital." "I'll go tomorrow," Alex lied. I need to go home." She studied him for a long moment, and Alex felt like she was seeing past his words to the truth underneath. "Fine," she said finally. "But if you start vomiting, having vision problems, or lose consciousness, you get yourself to an ER immediately. Head injuries are nothing to mess around with." "I will," Alex promised. He fumbled in his pocket for his wallet. "Please, let me give you something. A reward for helping me." Her expression went from concern to cool in an instant. "I don't want your money. I did this because it's the right thing to do, not because I expect payment." Something in Alex's chest expanded and contracted at the same time. When was the last time someone had refused his money? When was the last time someone had done something kind and expected nothing in return? "At least let me know your name," he said. "Please. So I can thank you properly." "That's not important," she said, standing and offering him a hand up. "You should get home. Be more careful next time. This neighborhood isn't safe after dark." She started to walk away, and panic flared in Alex's chest. He couldn't let her disappear. Not this woman who'd walked into danger to save a stranger, who'd refused his money, who'd touched him with gentle hands and seen him as just a person who needed help. "Do you know who I am?" he called after her. She turned back, studying his face in the streetlight with those intelligent eyes. really looking at him, like she was trying to place him. Then she shook her head slowly. "No," she said simply, "and I don't need to. Take care of yourself." She walked away into the night, and Alex stood alone in the alley, blood on his shirt and dripping from his lip, his ribs screaming and his head pounding. He should feel terrible. He should be calling Lysander and his security team, and probably the police. Instead, he felt more alive than he had in a decade. No one had ever looked at him like that, like he was just a man, not a bank account, not a connection, not an opportunity. Just a man who'd needed help and received it freely. His heart was racing in a way that had nothing to do with the adrenaline from the fight and everything to do with the woman who just disappeared around the corner. He pulled out his phone and texted Lysander, "I'm okay. Heading back soon. And I think I just met the most remarkable woman in the world." Lysander's response came immediately. "You're definitely concussed. Get to a hospital." But Alex was already walking toward where he'd parked the truck, his mind full of dark eyes and gentle hands, and a voice that had said, "That's enough," with the kind of authority that made grown men run. He didn't know her name. Didn't know anything about her, except that she was a medical professional based on the scrubs, and that she'd saved him without wanting anything in return. It was enough. It had to be enough. For now. In her car 6 blocks away, Amelia Gardner sat gripping the steering wheel and trying to stop her hands from shaking. She'd just walked into a 3-on-1 fight with nothing but pepper spray and her phone camera. She could have been killed, should have been killed, or at least badly hurt. But when she'd seen them beating that man, something in her had snapped. She'd lost her brother Caleb because no one had helped when he needed it. She'd become a nurse, specifically so she could be the person who helped. And she wasn't about to walk past someone being beaten to death in an alley just because it was dangerous. But God. Her hands were shaking, now that it was over. Her phone buzzed and she looked down at a text from Thaddeus, her fiancé. "Where are you? You were supposed to be home an hour ago. We need to discuss the wedding budget again." Amelia closed her eyes and felt exhaustion wash over her. Thaddeus, the wedding, the endless discussions about budgets and guest lists, and his opinions on everything from her dress to her hair, to how many shifts she should work at the hospital because a wife needed to be available for her husband. She texted back, "Just finished shift. On my way." She didn't mention the alley, the fight, the stranger with blood on his face who'd looked at her with charming eyes just for helping him. She was too tired to deal with Thaddeus's questions, his concerns that would somehow become criticisms, his way of making everything about him. She drove home to the apartment she shared with him and tried not to think about dark eyes and a voice that had said thank you, like she'd given him something precious instead of just basic human decency. For 3 days, Alex thought about her constantly. He sat in business meetings and saw her face. He reviewed acquisition proposals and heard her voice. He stood at his penthouse window at sunset and wondered where she was, what she was doing, if she ever thought about the man she'd saved in an alley. Lysander noticed. Of course Lysander noticed. "You're obsessed," his best friend said, sprawled on Alex's obscenely expensive couch while Alex paced. "You don't even know her name." "I know she's brave," Alex said. "I know she's kind. I know she helps people without expecting anything back. I know she looked at me like I was just a person, not a bank account. You know she's probably married with 3 kids, and you've built up some fantasy in your head," Lysander countered. "Let it go." It was a moment. A nice moment. But just a moment. Alex stopped pacing. "Find her." Lysander sat up. "What?" "You heard me. We have security footage from the area. We can pull traffic cameras. We can track her route. Find out who she is." "Alex, that's borderline stalking." "I don't care," Alex said, and he meant it. "I've spent 10 years meeting women who want my money, my connections, my status. I met one woman who wanted nothing from me except to make sure I was okay. One woman who looked at me and saw a person worth saving. I'm not letting that go. I can't." Lysander stared at him for a long moment. "You're serious about this?" More serious than I've been about anything in years. It took his security team exactly 36 hours to find her. They pulled traffic camera footage, ran facial recognition, tracked her car to a hospital parking lot. When they brought Alex the file, his hands trembled as he opened it. Amelia Gardner, 28 years old, ER nurse at Del Seaton Medical Center, lived in a modest apartment in Pflugerville. And there, in black and white in the report, the detail that made his stomach drop. Engaged to Thaddeus Reinhardt, wedding planned for 3 months from now. Alex stared at the engagement photo included in the social media report. Amelia smiled in the picture, but it didn't reach her eyes the way her smile had flickered in the alley when she'd said, "I stopped a mugging." The man beside her was handsome in a calculated way, expensive suit, arm around her shoulders possessively. He should walk away. She was engaged, spoken for, building a life with someone else. The right thing, the decent thing, would be to let her go and remember her as a beautiful moment of human kindness. Alex closed the file and looked at Lysander. "Where does she get coffee before her shifts?" "For the love of," Lysander started, then stopped when he saw Alex's face. "You're really going to do this?" "I have to at least try," Alex said quietly. "I have to know if what I felt in that alley was real or just adrenaline and desperation. And if she's happy, truly happy with this Thaddeus person, then I'll walk away, but I need to know." So he started appearing in her world, carefully, casually, just a guy who happened to be in the same places. Bennu Coffee on East 6th Street, where she stopped before early shifts, always ordering a large coffee with too much cream and not enough sugar. The Paperboy food truck park, where she ate lunch on her breaks, usually the Korean barbecue truck. The community health fair at the park, where she volunteered on her days off, checking blood pressures and handing out health information with infinite patience. Each time, he was just Alex, worn jeans, normal shirts, nothing flashy. He tried to strike up conversations. She was polite, but distant, clearly not recognizing him from the dark alley. Her focus was always elsewhere, on her phone or her food or the people she was helping, until one morning at Bennu Coffee, 1 week after the alley, when she was waiting for her order and Alex was pretending to read a newspaper at a nearby table. She glanced over at him and did a double take. He saw the moment recognition flickered across her face. She walked over to his table, head tilted slightly. "Wait," she said. "You're the guy from the alley. Your lip, it's still healing." Alex looked up and his heart kicked into overdrive. She remembered him. "You remember me?" "Yes," Amelia said, and her expression had softened slightly from the professional distance she usually maintained. "How are you feeling? Any complications from those ribs?" "Better," Alex said, standing up because his mother had raised him right. "Thanks to you. Can I buy you coffee? As a thank you?" "And I won't take no for an answer." She checked her watch, clearly calculating. "I have 20 minutes before my shift." "Deal," Alex said, trying not to smile too wide. They sat at a corner table, and for the first time since the alley, they actually talked. Alex asked questions, genuine ones, because he wanted to know everything about her. Why she became a nurse, why she volunteered at health fairs, what she loved about Austin. "My younger brother, Caleb," Amelia said, and her voice went soft and sad. "He died when I was 17. Asthma attack. We couldn't afford his medication that month." She stopped, swallowed hard, and Alex reached across the table instinctively to touch her hand. She didn't pull away. "He died on our living room floor while we waited for an ambulance that came too late," she continued, and her voice cracked. "I became a nurse, so no one else's brother dies while people count pennies. I save people because I couldn't save Caleb." "You're the most remarkable person I've ever met," Alex said quietly, intensely, leaning forward so she could see the truth in his eyes. Amelia looked surprised, vulnerable, like no one had ever said anything like that to her before. "You don't even know me, but I know enough to know that you're a good woman with the kindest of hearts." The air between them crackled with something electric. Amelia's breath caught and her lips parted slightly. For a moment, one perfect moment, she looked like she wanted to kiss him. Her eyes were on his mouth, then back to his eyes, and Alex felt like if he leaned forward just 6 inches he could kiss her, and she might maybe kiss him back. Then a voice shattered the moment like a hammer through glass. "Amelia? Who's your friend?" They both turned. A man stood beside their table, tall and handsome in an expensive charcoal suit that Alex recognized as bespoke tailoring. This had to be Thaddeus Reinhardt. He slid an arm around Amelia's shoulders possessively before she could stand, and extended his other hand to Alex with a smile that didn't reach his calculating eyes. "I'm Thaddeus," he said smoothly, "Amelia's fiancé." Alex stood and shook his hand, matching his grip strength for strength. "Alex, nice to meet you." Amelia looked flustered, guilty even though she'd done nothing wrong. "Thaddeus, this is the man I told you about. From the alley? The one who got mugged?" But Alex had never told her about the mugging, only that she'd helped him. She must have pieced it together. Thaddeus's smile widened, but his eyes went cold. "Ah, yes, the Good Samaritan story. My Amelia, always helping strays. I hope you thanked her properly." "I tried," Alex said evenly. "She wouldn't accept anything." "That's my girl," Thaddeus said, squeezing Amelia's shoulder just a bit too tight. "Impossibly noble. Darling, we should go. You'll be late for your shift." "I have 15 minutes, Amelia said, but she was already standing, already pulling away from the table. "It was nice seeing you again, Alex. Take care of yourself." "You too," Alex said, holding her gaze for one more second. When Amelia excused herself to the restroom, Thaddeus leaned across the table, his pleasant expression dropping like a mask. His voice went low and hard. "I don't know what you're playing at, but Amelia is taken. Move along." "Does she know you're this controlling?" Alex asked quietly, meeting his eyes. "Does she know you've been following her for days?" Thaddeus countered. "Yes, I noticed. The coffee shop, the food trucks, the health fair. I notice everything when it comes to what's mine. Stay away from her." He straightened as Amelia returned, the pleasant mask sliding back into place seamlessly. "Ready, darling?" They left together, Thaddeus's hand on her lower back, guiding her out. But Amelia looked back once, caught Alex's eyes, and there was something in her expression. Sadness, longing, maybe even a silent apology. It told Alex everything he needed to know. She wasn't happy. Whatever life she'd built with Thaddeus Reinhardt, it wasn't making her eyes light up the way they had when she'd talked about saving people. Alex sat back down and pulled out his phone. He should walk away. This was messy, complicated, potentially destructive. But when had he ever walked away from something he wanted? When had he ever let difficulty stop him from pursuing what mattered? Never. And he wasn't starting now. In his car outside the coffee shop, Thaddeus made a phone call, while Amelia sat silent in the passenger seat, staring out the window. "I need a full background check on someone," Thaddeus said to whoever answered. "Mid-30s, brown hair, well-built, showing up wherever my fiancé goes. Find out who he is and what he wants. And I need it yesterday." For 1 week, Alex tried to respect her engagement. He threw himself into work, took meetings in San Francisco and New York, tried to pretend that he hadn't met someone who made every other woman pale in comparison. Lysander thought he'd finally come to his senses. Then his private investigator, hired initially just to find Amelia, sent him a file he hadn't asked for. Security footage from the Four Seasons Hotel downtown, time-stamped 4 days ago. Alex almost deleted it without watching, but something made him click play. The video showed Thaddeus Reinhardt entering the hotel elevator with a blonde woman. They were laughing, standing too close. Then Thaddeus pulled her in and kissed her, deep and passionate. They stumbled out of the elevator on the 8th floor, barely breaking apart, and disappeared into a room together. Alex watched the footage 3 times, feeling sick. This was while Thaddeus was engaged to Amelia, while he was calling her my girl and darling and acting like the devoted fiancé. The timestamp showed they'd stayed in that room for 4 hours. Alex stared at his phone for 2 hours. The video file open, his thumb hovering over Amelia's number that he absolutely shouldn't have, but had acquired anyway. This would break her heart, destroy her engagement, shatter whatever future she'd planned with this man. But letting her marry a cheater would be worse. Letting her build a life with someone who betrayed her, that would be a cruelty Alex couldn't live with. He drove to Del Seaton Medical Center and waited in the parking lot like a stalker, like exactly the kind of obsessed person Lysander had warned him against becoming. But when Amelia emerged at 11 p.m., exhausted from her shift, her scrubs wrinkled and her hair falling out of its ponytail, Alex got out of his truck and walked toward her. She saw him and stopped, wariness crossing her face. "Alex? What are you doing here?" "I need to show you something," Alex said, and his voice was rough with emotion he couldn't hide. "And I'm sorry, because it's going to hurt. But you need to see it." He held out his phone, the video already queued up. Amelia looked at the screen, then at him, then back at the screen. She took the phone with trembling hands. Alex watched her face as she watched the footage, saw the exact moment she recognized Thaddeus, saw her face drain of color, saw tears start to slip down her cheeks as she watched the man she was supposed to marry kiss another woman, disappear with her into a hotel room. The phone slipped from her hands. Alex caught it, caught her as her knees buckled, his arms going around her to keep her upright. "Why?" Amelia whispered, and her voice was broken. "Why would you show me this? Why do you even care?" "Because you saved my life in that alley," Alex said, holding her tight, one hand cradling her head against his chest. "And I can't stand by and watch you give yours to someone who doesn't deserve you." "You don't know me," Amelia said, but she was sobbing now, her hands clutching his shirt. "You don't know what I deserve." Alex pulled back just enough to cup her face in his hands, tilting her head up so she had to look at him. The parking lot lights cast shadows across her beautiful tear-stained face. "I know you deserve someone who looks at you like you're the only person in the world," Alex said, and every word came from the deepest part of his soul. "Someone who would burn his entire life down just to keep you warm. Someone who sees you, really sees you, and knows they'll never find anyone else like you. I know you deserve that because that's how I've felt about you since the moment you walked into that alley and saved me." Amelia sobbed harder, and Alex pulled her back against his chest, holding her while she cried under the Texas stars. She cried for the betrayal, for the wasted time, for the future she'd planned that turned out to be built on lies, and Alex held her through all of it, his heart breaking and mending at the same time, because she was in his arms, and he would do anything, give anything, to take away her pain. What they didn't see was the man in a car 3 rows over, photographing the entire exchange. He sent the photos to Thaddeus immediately with a message. "Found him. Alex Corvinian. Tech billionaire worth $4.7 billion, and he's very close to your girl." Thaddeus stared at the photo of Alex holding Amelia, his expression turning dark and dangerous. "So that's his game," he muttered. "Billionaire thinks he can buy my fiancée. We'll see about that." He made another call. "I need a message sent. Make it painful but not permanent. I want him to understand what happens when you touch what belongs to me." Amelia went home that night to the apartment she shared with Thaddeus, her eyes swollen from crying, her heart shattered into pieces. When she walked in, Thaddeus was waiting on the couch with a glass of wine, looking perfectly composed. "You're late," he said mildly. "I know about Seraphine," Amelia said. No preamble, no gentle lead-in. She was too tired and heartbroken for games. She expected denial. Excuses. Apologies. But Thaddeus just smiled and set down his wine glass carefully. "And I know about Alex Corvinian," he said. He threw printed photographs onto the coffee table. Amelia and Alex at Bennu Coffee, at the food truck park, in the parking lot, with Alex's arms around her while she cried. High-quality photos, clearly taken by someone following her. "How long have you been fucking him?" Thaddeus asked conversationally. Amelia felt like she'd been slapped. "Not everyone is a gigolo like you, Thaddeus," she said. "You're the one who cheated." "Did I?" Thaddeus stood and walked toward her slowly. "Or did I turn to someone else because I felt you pulling away? Because you stopped looking at me and started looking for excuses to run into your billionaire boyfriend?" "He's not my boyfriend," Amelia said. "I just met him a few weeks ago." Thaddeus picked up one of the photos, the one of Alex holding her. "This looks pretty intimate for someone you just met. Secret coffee dates, lunch breaks together, and now he's comforting you in parking lots at midnight. You think I'm stupid?" "Yes, I absolutely think you're stupid. You're being ridiculously insane right now," Amelia said. "You're trying to make me the villain when you're the one who was in a hotel room with another woman." Thaddeus's mask cracked slightly, rage flashing across his face. "Maybe I turned to Seraphine because you stopped being enough. Because you're so busy saving strangers and working double shifts that you forgot you had a fiancé at home who needed you." "Needed me?" Amelia felt her own anger rising. "Or needed my money? Because that's what this has been about, hasn't it?" Thaddeus went very still. "Who told you that?" "No one had to tell me," Amelia lied. "I figured it out myself. The timing of when we met, how you pursued me so intensely. You targeted me, Thaddeus. This whole relationship was a con." For a moment, genuine emotion crossed Thaddeus's face. Something that might have been hurt if Amelia hadn't known better. "It started that way," he admitted, and Amelia's stomach dropped even though she'd already known. "But I did love you, Amelia. In my way. I built a life for us. A life built on lies," Amelia said. "I'm done, Thaddeus. The engagement is off. I'll move out tomorrow." She turned toward their bedroom to start packing, but Thaddeus's voice stopped her cold. "You don't get to walk away from me. Not after everything I've invested in you. Not after 2 years of playing the devoted fiancé to a woman who can't even afford decent coffee without counting pennies." Amelia turned back slowly. "I'm not a business deal. I'm a person. And I'm leaving." Thaddeus's expression turned to ice. "We'll see how you feel when I'm done. And your billionaire boyfriend? He'll regret the day he decided to play hero. I guarantee it." "Is that a threat?" "That's a promise," Thaddeus said softly. Amelia grabbed essentials, threw them in a bag with shaking hands, and left. She drove to Zinnia Belrose's apartment across town, her best friend since college, and collapsed on the couch in tears. Zinnia held her while she cried, stroking her hair and making soothing sounds. When Amelia could finally speak, she told her everything. Thaddeus is cheating. Alex showing her the footage, the confrontation, Thaddeus's threats. "You did the right thing," Zinnia said firmly. "He's a manipulative piece of garbage, and you're better off without him." "What if he's right, though?" Amelia whispered. "What if I did have feelings for Alex before I ended things? What if I emotionally cheated?" "Even if you did develop feelings, which is completely human and normal, you ended your engagement before acting on them," Zinnia said. "You didn't cheat, Amelia. You recognized you had feelings for someone else, and you did the right thing by ending your relationship. That's called being honest, not cheating." Amelia pulled out her phone with trembling hands and texted Alex, "Thank you for showing me the truth. I ended things with Thaddeus. I don't know what happens next, but thank you." 3 blocks away in his penthouse, Alex read the text, and his heart started racing. He wrote and deleted 6 different responses before settling on, "Are you safe? Do you need anything?" Amelia's response came quickly, "I'm safe. At my friend's place." Alex typed, "Take all the time you need. I'm here whenever you need me." He wanted to write more, wanted to confess everything, his wealth, his feelings, his certainty that she was the one person in the world who could make him feel whole. But she needed space, and he would give her that, even if it killed him. 3 nights later, Alex was leaving a late meeting at his downtown office building. The parking garage was nearly empty, just the echo of his footsteps and the hum of fluorescent lights. He'd been working late every night, throwing himself into acquisition deals and merger negotiations to avoid thinking about Amelia constantly. It wasn't working. As he approached his car, a modest sedan he'd bought to maintain some of his regular guy persona, 4 men emerged from behind concrete pillars. Alex recognized the setup immediately, had half a second to decide between running for the elevator or standing his ground. He chose to stand, because running felt like defeat. They didn't speak, didn't demand his wallet or his watch. They just attacked, fast and brutal, and clearly professional. These weren't random muggers. This was a message. Brass knuckles caught him across the jaw, and Alex tasted blood. A steel-toed boot slammed into his ribs, and he heard something crack. He fought back, got in a few good hits, because his father had insisted he learn to defend himself, but 4-on-1 with weapons wasn't a fight he could win. A pipe across his back drove him to his knees. Fists rained down on his head, his sides, his face. He curled up, trying to protect his vital organs, while they beat him systematically, professionally, like they'd done this before. The leader, a massive guy with hands like hammers, crouched beside Alex's bloodied face and grabbed his hair, forcing his head up. "Message from Thaddeus," the man said calmly. "Stay away from what's his, or next time we kill you." He let Alex's head drop, and they left, their footsteps echoing away into the concrete silence. Alex lay there, bleeding on the oil-stained garage floor, every breath sending fire through his broken ribs. His phone was in his pocket. One call and his security team would be here in minutes. One call, and he could have these men tracked, identified, arrested. One call, and he could unleash the full power of his wealth and connections to destroy Thaddeus Reinhardt completely. But he didn't call, because some stubborn, possibly stupid part of him wanted to prove he was more than his money. Wanted to show Amelia, and maybe himself, that he could be brave without billions of dollars to back him up, that he could take this punishment and still stand on his own 2 feet. Literally, standing seemed impossible at the moment, but the principle remained. 20 minutes passed before a parking attendant found him. The older man took one look at Alex's battered face and immediately called 911. Alex tried to wave him off, tried to say he was fine, but blood bubbled from his lips and the words wouldn't come. As paramedics loaded him onto a gurney, one of them asked, "Which hospital?" "Del Seaton." Alex whispered through split lips, "Take me to Del Seaton Medical Center." The paramedic looked confused. There were closer hospitals, but Alex repeated it with what little strength he had left. "Del Seaton. Please." Because if he was going to lie in a hospital bed, broken and bleeding, he wanted even the smallest chance that she might be the one to find him. The ambulance arrived at Del Seaton Medical Center at 11:43 p.m., sirens wailing through the emergency bay entrance. Amelia was halfway through her shift, exhausted but focused, when the overhead announcement crackled to life. "Incoming trauma, male, mid-30s, assault victim, multiple injuries, ETA 2 minutes. She moved automatically toward the trauma bay, pulling on fresh gloves and tying her hair back more securely. This was her element, the organized chaos of emergency medicine, where she could focus all her energy on saving lives instead of thinking about her imploded engagement or the billionaire who'd shown her the truth or the threatening text messages. Thaddeus kept sending that she kept deleting. The doors burst open, and paramedics wheeled in the gurney at speed, rattling off vitals as they moved. Male patient, approximately 32 years old, found unconscious in parking garage, signs of severe beating, suspected broken ribs, possible concussion, lacerations to face and head. Amelia moved to the side of the gurney as they transferred the patient to the trauma bed, her hands already reaching to assess injuries. Then she saw his face. The world stopped. "Alex," she breathed, and professional detachment shattered completely. "Oh my God, Alex." His face was barely recognizable under the swelling and blood. His left eye was swollen shut, a gash above his eyebrow still bleeding freely. His lip was split in 2 places, his nose clearly broken. But it was him. Unmistakably him. The man who'd looked at her in a coffee shop like she was something precious. "You know this patient?" one of the other nurses asked. Amelia's hands were already moving over him, checking his airway, his breathing, his circulation, even as tears blurred her vision. "Yes, I know him. Alex? Alex, can you hear me?" His one good eye fluttered open, unfocused and glazed with pain. When he saw her face above him, something like a smile tried to form on his destroyed lips. "Hey," he whispered, voice slurred and weak. "You saved me again." "Don't talk," Amelia said, and her voice broke completely. "Just stay with me. Stay with me, Alex." "Would do this," he mumbled, fading in and out of consciousness 100 times just to hear you say my name like that. The words hit Amelia like a physical blow. He'd been beaten within an inch of his life, and he was trying to flirt with her, trying to make her smile, even though every word clearly caused him agony. "You're an idiot," she sobbed, even as her hands worked with professional precision. "You're the bravest, most stubborn, most idiotic man I've ever met." The team swarmed around them. Someone called for x-rays, someone else started an IV, a doctor barked orders about CT scans and possible internal bleeding. Amelia worked through her tears, cutting away his blood-soaked shirt to examine his torso. The bruising was extensive, purple and black across his ribs and abdomen. When she pressed gently to check for internal injuries, Alex made a sound of pain that tore her heart in half. I'm sorry, she whispered. "I need to check. I need to make sure you're okay." Alex's hand, the one without the IV, reached up and caught her wrist weakly. "Hey, relax. Whatever happened wasn't your fault," he managed. "I'm going to be fine." "Who did this to you?" Amelia asked, even though somewhere deep down she already knew. "Why didn't you call for help? Why didn't you protect yourself?" "Because I'm not." Alex's eye was closing again. "Who you think I am. And I wanted just once to be brave enough, without money, to save me." The words made no sense, but before Amelia could ask what he meant, Alex lost consciousness completely. The monitors started screaming and the team moved into crisis mode. They rushed him to X-ray, then CT scan, then finally to a recovery room once they'd confirmed no internal bleeding, 3 broken ribs, fractured nose, severe concussion, multiple contusions, but nothing immediately life-threatening. Amelia followed every step of the way, ignoring her supervisor's pointed looks about emotional involvement with patients. She held Alex's hand while they set his nose, stayed beside him during the scans, refused to leave even when her shift technically ended at midnight. She was sitting in the chair beside his bed in the general recovery ward, holding his hand and crying silently, when a man in an expensive suit burst through the door, looking like he was ready to murder someone. "Where is he?" the man demanded. "Where's Alex Corvinian?" The name hit Amelia like ice water. Corvinian. Alex Corvinian. Why did that sound familiar? The man, tall and distinguished-looking despite his obvious fury, spotted Alex in the bed, and his expression crumbled. "Jesus Christ, Alex! What the hell did you do?" He moved to the other side of the bed, taking in the extent of Alex's injuries with growing horror. When he looked up at the charge nurse who'd followed him in, his voice was steel. "Move him to the VIP wing. Private room, best doctors, cost is irrelevant." "Sir," the nurse said carefully, "he doesn't have VIP insurance listed in our system." "He's Alex Corvinian," the man said, biting off each word. "He owns the company that donated the entire west wing of this hospital. He's worth $4.7 billion. Move him to VIP immediately, or I'll have your jobs, and this entire hospital's board replaced by morning." The nurse went pale and scurried away. Amelia sat frozen in her chair, still holding Alex's hand. 4.7 billion. Alex Corvinian, the tech mogul. The man finally seemed to notice her. "Who are you?" "Amelia," she said numbly. "I'm a nurse here. I've been treating him." The man's expression softened slightly. "Lysander Hawke. I'm Alex's business partner and best friend. Thank you for taking care of him. Why didn't he call for help? Amelia asked. The paramedic said he was conscious when they found him. He could have called security, called you, but he didn't. Why? Lysander looked at Alex's battered face with something like exasperated affection. Because he's noble and stubborn, and occasionally incredibly stupid. Plus, I think he likes you. He doesn't even know me, Amelia whispered. He knows enough, Lysander said. And trust me, I've known Alex for 15 years. I've never seen him like this about anyone. Hospital administration arrived then, falling over themselves to apologize and arrange the transfer to the VIP wing. Amelia watched in a daze as they moved Alex to a private suite that looked more like a luxury hotel room than a hospital. Soft lighting, comfortable furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows with views of the city. She should leave. Her shift was over. Alex was in good hands. But when she tried to make herself stand up and walk away, her body refused to cooperate. You should stay, Lysander said quietly from the doorway. When he wakes up, you're who he'll want to see. I don't understand any of this, Amelia said. He's a billionaire. What was he doing in that alley the night I found him? What was he doing at coffee shops and food trucks? Why did he pretend to be someone he's not? If you discovered someone you were falling for had been hiding the fact that they're a billionaire, would you feel betrayed by the deception? I think you should ask him that when he wakes up, Lysander said. But for what it's worth, everything he felt for you was real. The money just complicated things. Lysander left, promising to return in the morning. Amelia sat in the quiet luxury of the VIP suite, holding Alex's hand, and pulled out her phone with trembling fingers. She typed Alex Kovenian into the search bar. The results were overwhelming. Forbes articles about his net worth, profiles in business magazines, photos of him at charity galas in tuxedos that cost more than her monthly rent. Alex Kovenian, tech genius who'd built an empire before he was 30. Alex Kovenian, one of Austin's most eligible bachelors. Alex Kovenian, billionaire philanthropist. She looked from the photos on her phone to the man in the hospital bed, his face so swollen and damaged she could barely see the handsome features from the magazine covers. This was the same person who'd stood in a coffee shop and asked to buy her a cup of coffee as a thank you. The same person who'd shown her footage of Thaddeus cheating because he couldn't stand to watch her marry someone who didn't deserve her. The same person who'd apparently been beaten nearly to death and refused to use his wealth and power to protect himself because he wanted to prove something. Amelia didn't know whether to be furious or heartbroken or impossibly, dangerously touched. She fell asleep in the chair beside his bed, her head resting on the mattress near his hand, too exhausted to process anymore. When Alex woke up, the first thing he registered was pain. Every inch of his body screamed in protest as consciousness returned. The second thing he registered was soft hair under his fingers, silky and natural, and the gentle sound of breathing that wasn't his own. He opened his one good eye, the other still too swollen, and saw Amelia asleep beside his bed. She'd pulled the chair close and fallen asleep with her head on his mattress, one hand still loosely holding his. Even in sleep she looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, her scrubs rumpled from a long shift. She was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. Alex tried to speak, but his throat was dry as sand. He managed a soft sound, and Amelia jolted awake immediately, nurse instincts kicking in. Her eyes met his and flooded with tears. "You're awake," she said, and her voice was thick with emotion. "How do you feel? Rate your pain 1 to 10. 11, Alex croaked. "Maybe 12. "That's not how the scale works," Amelia said. But she was already reaching for the call button to get his pain medication adjusted. A nurse appeared within seconds, clearly assigned specifically to this VIP room, and administered medication through his IV. The pain began to recede to manageable levels within minutes. Alex watched Amelia the entire time, drinking in the sight of her, the reality that she was here, that she'd stayed. "You stayed," he said when his voice started working better. Amelia's expression shifted from concerned to something harder. "You're a billionaire." "Yeah," Alex said. "You pretended to be a regular guy. The truck, the clothes, the whole let me buy you coffee thing, it was all pretending." "Not pretending," Alex said, trying to push himself up and immediately regretting it as his ribs screamed. "The opposite of pretending. That was the most real I've been in 10 years. Amelia moved to adjust his pillows, helping him sit up despite her obvious anger, because she was a nurse and couldn't help taking care of people even when they'd lied to her. "Don't move like that. You have 3 broken ribs." "I know," Alex said. "I can feel every one of them." She stepped back once he was settled, crossing her arms over her chest. "Why didn't you tell me who you were?" "Because of exactly this," Alex said, gesturing between them. "Because the second people know I'm Alex Corvinian, tech billionaire, they stop seeing me and start seeing my bank account. You looked at me in that alley like I was just a man who needed help. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know what it's like to never know if someone likes you or your net worth?" "So you lied," Amelia said. "I omitted," Alex countered. "And yes, that was wrong. I should have told you sooner. I was going to tell you 12 times. But every time I opened my mouth, I remembered the way you refused my money that first night. The way you insisted on buying your own coffee. The way you looked at me like I was worth saving just because I was a person, not because of what I could give you." Amelia's arms uncrossed slightly. Her expression was still guarded, but something was softening. "You took a beating because of me. Thaddeus did this." It wasn't a question. Alex nodded carefully, mindful of his pounding head. "He had you beaten nearly to death, and you didn't call for help, didn't use your money or your power or your security team," Amelia said. "Why?" "Because I wanted to prove I'm more than my wealth," Alex said quietly. "I wanted to be brave for you, the way you were brave for me in that alley. I wanted to earn you, Amelia. Not buy you, not impress you with what I have, but earn you with who I am." Tears slipped down Amelia's cheeks. "You stubborn, stupid, beautiful man." "Is that a yes?" Alex asked, and despite the pain, he smiled with his ruined lips. "A yes to what?" "To letting me take you to dinner when I can walk again," Alex said. "To letting me prove that every word I've said to you was true. To letting me fall in love with you the right way." Amelia wiped at her tears. "You're already in love with me, aren't you?" "Hopelessly," Alex admitted. "Since the alley. Maybe before. Maybe I was just waiting my whole life to be saved by you." "That's impossible," Amelia said, but she was moving closer to the bed. "You didn't know me before." "Maybe I was waiting without knowing what I was waiting for," Alex said. "And then you walked into that alley and suddenly everything made sense. Every bad date, every failed relationship, every lonely night in that empty penthouse, it was all leading me to that moment, to you." Amelia sat on the edge of his bed, careful not to jostle his injuries. She reached up and traced the edge of a bruise on his jaw with infinite gentleness. "I ended my engagement because of you. Because in 2 weeks, you showed me what I should have felt for 2 years with Thaddeus. Because you looked at me like I mattered, like my thoughts and my dreams and my brother's memory were important, not just convenient facts to manipulate. You ended it because he didn't deserve you," Alex said, catching her hand and pressing it to his chest, where his heart was beating hard enough for her to feel. "I just helped you see what was already true." "I'm terrified," Amelia whispered. "I'm terrified that this is too fast, too intense, too much. I'm terrified that I'm making another mistake." "Then be terrified with me," Alex said. "Because I'm scared too. Scared you'll decide I'm not worth the complication. Scared this feeling is one-sided. Scared I'll wake up and you'll be gone." "I'm right here," Amelia said. "Then stay," Alex said. "Please. Just until I fall asleep. I need to know you're real." Amelia leaned down slowly, telegraphing her movement, giving him time to protest. She pressed her lips to his forehead, the one spot that wasn't bruised or cut. It was the gentlest kiss, barely a brush of skin against skin, but Alex felt it like lightning through his entire body. "I'll stay," she promised. "As long as you need." Alex fell asleep holding her hand, and for the first time since the beating, he didn't have nightmares. The hospital insisted on keeping Alex for 3 days of observation, given the severity of his concussion. Amelia worked her shifts and spent every break in his room. They talked for hours, real conversations where Alex told her about growing up with nothing, building his company from a garage, losing his father, and never quite filling that void. Amelia told him about her family, her mother who'd worked 3 jobs to keep them afloat after her father left, her brother Caleb whose memory drove everything she did. On the 3rd day, against medical advice and Lysander's vocal protests, Alex checked himself out. He could barely walk without wincing, but staying in that hospital bed felt like wasting time he could spend with Amelia. "I can't go back to my old apartment," Amelia said as they stood in the hospital lobby. "Thaddeus's name is on the lease, and I don't feel safe there." "Zinnia's couch is too small for you to recover properly," Lysander interjected. He'd been hovering like an overprotective mother hen since Alex had announced his intention to leave. "I have a solution," Alex said carefully. "I have a guest house on my estate. 2 bedrooms, fully furnished, private. You could stay there while you look for a permanent place. And," he added before she could protest, "I need help recovering. Doctor's orders say I shouldn't be alone with these injuries." "That's manipulation," Amelia said, but she was smiling slightly. "That's practical problem solving," Alex countered. "You need a place to stay. I need medical supervision. We solve both problems." "And what do I pay in rent?" Amelia asked, one eyebrow raised. "Name your price," Alex said. $1 a month." Alex started to laugh, then stopped because his ribs protested violently. "You drive a hard bargain. Deal." So Amelia moved into the guest house, a modest 2-bedroom cottage by Alex's standards, but nicer than anywhere she'd ever lived. She worked her nursing shifts, came home to check on Alex, and slowly, carefully, they built something real. On the first night, Amelia changed Alex's bandages while he sat shirtless on the couch. Her fingers were professional, efficient, but when she traced the edge of a bruise, Alex's breath caught in a way that had nothing to do with pain. "You have healing hands," he said quietly. "That's literally my job," Amelia replied, but her cheeks flushed. "No," Alex said, catching her wrist gently. "You have a healing soul. Every time you touch me, I feel less broken. And I'm not talking about the ribs." Amelia's hands stilled. "That's the pain medication talking. I stopped taking the pain meds yesterday," Alex said. "That's just truth." Their eyes locked and the air between them thickened. Amelia pulled away, flustered, claiming she needed to wash the gauze. But Alex saw the way her hands trembled slightly, the way her breathing had quickened. On the 3rd day, Amelia insisted on cooking Nigerian jollof rice, her grandmother's recipe. Alex, despite his injuries, insisted on helping. They worked side by side in the kitchen, and Alex couldn't remember the last time anything had felt this domestic, this right. "You're terrible at chopping onions," Amelia laughed, as Alex produced another unevenly sized piece. "I'm a billionaire who can't cook," Alex said. "Shocking, I know." Amelia bumped him with her hip playfully. "So I'm worth your terrible chopping skills?" Alex put down the knife and turned to face her fully. "You're worth everything I have, and everything I am." The laughter died in Amelia's eyes, replaced by something intense and vulnerable. "Don't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because I'm starting to believe them," Amelia whispered. "Good," Alex said, and he reached up to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. His fingers lingered on her cheek, and Amelia's eyes fluttered closed at the touch. They stood there, inches apart, the rice burning slightly on the stove. Neither moved. Then Amelia's phone rang, Zinnia checking in, and the moment shattered. But the tension remained, building like a storm that would eventually have to break. On the 5th night, Alex woke up screaming. Nightmares of the beating, of fists and boots and pain, had him thrashing in the sheets. Amelia ran into his room in an oversized t-shirt and shorts, panicked. "Alex, you're safe," she said, sitting on the edge of his bed and taking his hands. "You're safe. I'm here." Alex was covered in sweat, breathing hard, his heart racing. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to wake you." "Don't apologize," Amelia said firmly. "Trauma is trauma. It doesn't follow convenient schedules." She started to stand, to leave him to calm down on his own, but Alex gripped her hand tighter. "Stay," he said, and his voice cracked on the word. "Please, just until I fall back asleep." Amelia knew she should say no. This crossed lines, blurred boundaries that should stay clear. But she couldn't leave him like this, shaking and afraid. "Okay," she said softly, "just until you sleep." She lay down on top of the covers beside him, fully clothed. Alex curled toward her instinctively, his head coming to rest near her shoulder. Amelia hesitated, then began running her fingers through his hair, slow and soothing. "I've never felt as safe as I do when you're near me," Alex whispered. "Then I'll stay as long as you need," Amelia promised. They fell asleep like that, not touching beyond her hand in his hair, but more intimate than any physical encounter Amelia had ever had. When she woke at dawn, Alex was wrapped around her, his head on her chest, his arm over her waist, sleeping peacefully. She should move. She should go back to her own room before this became something neither of them were ready for. But she didn't. She lay there holding him and admitted to herself what she'd been denying for days. She was in love with him, completely, terrifyingly, irrevocably in love with Alex Corvinian. On the 7th evening, they were watching an old movie on the couch, The Princess Bride, Alex's choice. Amelia was curled under his arm, careful of his healing ribs, and the movie was ending. "You know what my favorite part is?" Alex asked as the credits rolled. "The sword fighting?" Amelia guessed, looking up at him. "As you wish," Alex said. "The way Wesley loves Buttercup so completely that her happiness is his only goal. The way he says 'as you wish' but means 'I love you' every single time. That's what real love is. Not grand gestures or expensive gifts, just seeing someone and choosing their happiness above your own." Amelia shifted to see his face better. "You're a romantic." "Only for you," Alex said, looking down at her with such naked emotion that Amelia's breath caught. They were staring at each other, the movie forgotten. Alex's hand came up to cup her cheek, his thumb stroking her skin with infinite tenderness. Amelia's lips parted, and she leaned in fractionally. Alex met her halfway, their lips a breath apart, so close Amelia could feel the warmth of him. "I should," she started, flustered. "I have an early shift tomorrow. I should sleep." "Of course," Alex said, and he couldn't quite hide his disappointment. "Good night, Amelia." "Good night, Alex," she said. She went to her room and leaned against the closed door, her heart pounding. This was getting dangerous. She was falling harder every day, and the fear of getting hurt again, of making another mistake, was almost paralyzing. In his room, Alex lay in bed, aching for her in ways that had nothing to do with his injuries. Around 2 a.m., they both stood at their respective bedroom doors, hands on the handles, wanting to go to each other. Neither did. But the next morning, Alex found a note on the kitchen counter in Amelia's handwriting. "Thank you for 7 perfect days. Whatever happens next, I want you to know you've already given me something no one else ever has. You've made me believe in good men again." Alex held the note and felt his chest expand with emotion so intense it was almost painful. He texted Lysander, "I'm going to marry her." Lysander's response, "You haven't even kissed her yet." Alex, "I'm still going to marry her." That same morning, while Amelia was at work, she received a call from a lawyer named Marcellus Finch. She almost didn't answer, assuming it was another wrong number, but something made her pick up. "Miss Gardner, I'm calling regarding your grandmother's estate." Amelia frowned. "My grandmother died 2 years ago. The estate was already settled." There was a legal complication, Mr. Finch explained. A contested clause that's finally been resolved through the courts. You're the sole heir to $12 million and a property estate in Houston. Amelia almost dropped her phone. She had to sit down in the hospital break room, her hands shaking. I'm sorry. Did you say 12 million? Yes, Miss Gardner. Your grandmother was quite wealthy. The property alone is worth 8 million. There are also investment accounts, stocks, and liquid assets. The estate is yours. Amelia sat in stunned silence as Mr. Finch explained the details. The legal battle that had delayed the inheritance, the documentation she'd need to sign. When the call finally ended, she stared at her phone in disbelief. $12 million. She could open the free clinic she'd always dreamed of, the one in Caleb's memory. She could help hundreds, thousands of people who couldn't afford health care. She could change lives. When she got home that evening, bursting with the news, Alex was sitting on the couch reading investment reports. He looked up when she came in and immediately saw her excitement. What happened? He asked, standing carefully. Amelia, I just found out. I inherited money from my grandmother, $12 million and property. I can't believe it's real. Alex's face lit up with genuine joy. He crossed to her and pulled her into a careful hug, mindful of his ribs. Amelia, that's incredible. You can open that free clinic you told me about. The one for Caleb. When someone you're falling for is genuinely happy about your sudden wealth, rather than threatened or calculating, does that prove their feelings are real? Or do you still question their motives until they demonstrate it through actions over time? I can't believe this is happening, Amelia said, but even as she celebrated, a horrible thought crept in. She pulled back from Alex's embrace. Did you know about this? Alex looked confused. What? No. How would I know about your inheritance? You're a billionaire, Amelia said, hating herself for the suspicion but unable to stop it. You have resources. Private investigators. Did you know I was inheriting money? Understanding dawned on Alex's face, followed by hurt. Amelia, no. I swear on my life. I had no idea. Because Thaddeus knew, Amelia said, and her voice was rising. Somehow he must have known. That's why he targeted me. What if this whole thing was... She couldn't finish the sentence. Alex gripped her shoulders gently. Stop. Look at me. I fell in love with you when you were a nurse who saved my life in an alley. I didn't know your last name. I didn't know anything about you, except that you were brave and kind and saw me as a person instead of a bank account. That's the woman I fell in love with. His voice was fierce, intense, leaving no room for doubt. I don't care if you have 12 million or $12, Alex continued. I'd love you either way. You could lose every penny tomorrow and it wouldn't change how I feel about you. How do I know what's real anymore? Amelia asked, and tears were streaming down her face. How do I trust my own judgment? I thought Thaddeus loved me and it was all a lie. Alex did something that shocked her. He pulled out his phone and called his lawyer right there, putting it on speaker. Marcus, Alex said when the lawyer answered, I need you to draft an ironclad prenuptial agreement. If Amelia Gardner and I ever marry, I waive all rights to her assets, inheritance, and any future income. Her money is completely untouchable by me, legally protected in every possible way. And I want it done tonight. Alex, that's highly unusual, Marcus said over the speaker. I don't care, Alex said. Do it. He hung up and took Amelia's hands in his. I don't want your money. I never will. I want your heart. But only if you give it freely, without fear, without doubt. Only if you know beyond any shadow that I love you for exactly who you are. Amelia broke down completely. Alex held her while she sobbed, one hand stroking her hair, the other rubbing circles on her back. I love you, Amelia finally said against his chest. God help me, I love you so much it terrifies me. Alex pulled back just enough to tilt her face up toward his. I love you too, and I'm going to spend every day proving you can trust me. Every single day, for the rest of our lives if you'll let me. He kissed her then, finally, after weeks of almost and nearly and not quite. His lips met hers softly at first, questioning, giving her space to pull away if she wanted. But Amelia made a sound low in her throat and pressed closer, her hands coming up to frame his face. The kiss deepened, turned desperate. All the longing and fear and hope of the past weeks poured into that connection. Alex's hands slid into her hair, and Amelia's found his waist, careful of his ribs but needing to touch him, to feel the reality of him. They broke apart, breathing hard, foreheads pressed together. "Hi," Alex whispered. "Hi," Amelia whispered back, and then she was laughing and crying at the same time. Alex lifted her, wincing slightly, but not caring about his ribs, and Amelia wrapped her legs around his waist. They kissed again, deeper, hotter, stumbling toward his bedroom. "I'd trade every skyscraper for the way you breathe when I kiss your neck. You're my home, Amelia, forever." Then Amelia's phone rang, shattering the moment for the third time. "Ignore it," Alex said against her lips. "It might be the hospital," Amelia said reluctantly. She checked the screen. Unknown number again. Voicemail notification. Curious and slightly annoyed, she pulled up the voicemail and put it on speaker. Thaddeus's voice filled the room, cold and calculated. "Amelia, congratulations on your inheritance. I knew about it months ago. That's how we met, remember? I accidentally bumped into you at that coffee shop. Nothing about us was an accident. I researched you, found out about your grandmother's contested estate, and positioned myself perfectly." Amelia felt sick. Alex's hands tightened on her waist. "But here's what you don't know," Thaddeus continued. "I've been tracking you. I know you're living with Alex Corvinian. I know you've fallen for him. And I know that in 3 days there's an engagement party that was never officially cancelled, the one I planned months ago at that venue in the hill country. I've invited all your family, all your friends, your mother, everyone who matters to you. They're expecting to celebrate our love." Alex's expression turned murderous. "If you don't show up and publicly choose me, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of woman you are," Thaddeus said. "I have photos. Amelia, compromising photos that I've fabricated of you and several men, doctored but convincing enough to destroy your reputation. And Alex Corvinian, his squeaky clean billionaire image? I'll ruin that too. I'll claim he used his wealth to seduce my fiancée, that he paid you to leave me. By the time I'm done, neither of you will be able to show your faces in Austin." The voicemail continued, each word more poisonous. 3 days, Amelia, the party. Be there, say yes to me in front of everyone, and I'll disappear quietly from your life. You can have your billionaire and your inheritance. Refuse, and I'll burn both your lives to the ground. I'll be waiting." The voicemail ended. Amelia was shaking. Alex was furious, his jaw clenched so tight she could see muscles jumping. "He's bluffing," Alex said. "Let me handle this. 1 phone call, and I can have him arrested for harassment, blackmail, a dozen other charges." "No," Amelia said firmly. "If you use your wealth and power to solve this, it proves his point, that I ran to a billionaire for protection, that I'm exactly what he'll claim I am." "I don't care what he thinks," Alex said. "I care about keeping you safe." "I need to face him myself," Amelia said. "I need to end this on my terms, not yours. I need to prove, to myself if no one else, that I'm not a victim anymore." "Then I'm coming with you," Alex said, and his voice left no room for argument. "Alex, this could get ugly." "I don't care if it gets nuclear," Alex said. "I've let him hurt you enough. I'm not letting you walk into his trap alone. We face him together, or not at all." Amelia saw the determination in his eyes and knew arguing was pointless. "Together," she agreed. What they didn't know was that Thaddeus had no intention of a peaceful resolution. He was already preparing for violence, already planning how to destroy them both if Amelia refused him. 3 days later, they drove to the Hill Country venue, a beautiful barn event space surrounded by magnolia trees and rolling hills. Amelia's mother, and extended family were already there, confused but excited because Thaddeus had told them the engagement was back on, that it was a surprise reconciliation. When Amelia and Alex walked in hand, the crowd went silent. Amelia's mother rushed forward. "Amelia? What's going on?" Thaddeus said, "You two reconciled." He said. She trailed off, looking between Amelia and Alex with growing understanding. "Mom," Amelia said gently, "Thaddeus and I are not getting married. We broke up weeks ago. He lied to all of you." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Thaddeus emerged from the barn, looking devastatingly handsome in a crisp charcoal suit, every inch the wronged fiancé. "Amelia," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "thank you for coming. I know we've had our troubles, I know I made mistakes, but I believe love conquers all. I'm willing to forgive your affair with this man, willing to start fresh. All I need is for you to say yes, right here, right now, in front of everyone who loves us." He pulled out a ring box with practiced theatricality, dropped to one knee. The crowd was torn, some looking sympathetic to Thaddeus, others confused and uncomfortable. Amelia felt Alex tense beside her. She squeezed his hand. "I didn't have an affair," Amelia said clearly. "I ended our engagement when I found out you were cheating on me. When I discovered you'd targeted me for my inheritance. When I realized our entire relationship was built on lies." Thaddeus stood smoothly. "And who told you these lies? Your billionaire savior? The man who's been following you, manipulating you, using his wealth to seduce you away from me?" Alex stepped forward, placing himself slightly between Amelia and Thaddeus. "She's not yours to claim. She never was." "And who are you?" Thaddeus asked, his voice rising. "Her rebound? Her meal ticket? You think you're better than me because you have money?" "I'm better than you because I actually love her," Alex said calmly. "Love?" Thaddeus laughed harshly. "You've known her for a month. I've been with her for 2 years. I know her. I built a life with her. I was there when she worked double shifts and came home exhausted. I was there when she cried about patients she couldn't save. Where were you?" "I've known her for a month," Alex said, and his voice carried across the silent crowd. "And in that time, I've learned more about who she really is than you cared to discover in 2 years. I know she became a nurse to honor her brother Caleb. I know she takes her coffee with too much cream and not enough sugar because it reminds her of her grandmother. I know she hums when she cooks jollof rice and that she checks on her patients even after her shift ends because she can't stop caring." He took a step forward, his intensity radiating through every word. "I know she's afraid of trusting people because everyone she's ever loved has let her down," Alex continued. "I know she smiles when she helps people, but it doesn't reach her eyes when she's truly happy. It lights up her whole face. I know that when she saved me in that alley, she didn't see a rich man or a poor man. She saw a human being who needed help. That's who she is. That's the woman I fell in love with." The crowd was silent, moved. Amelia had tears streaming down her face. "You're right about one thing," Alex said to Thaddeus. "You gave her 2 years. 2 years of manipulation, lies and control. And in 1 month, I showed her what real love looks like. Not because I'm better than you, but because I see her. I value her. I would die before I let anyone hurt her the way you have." Amelia stepped beside Alex, taking his hand. She looked at Thaddeus with clear eyes. "You asked me to choose," she said. "So I'm choosing. I choose myself. I choose my own happiness. I choose a man who looks at me like I'm precious instead of profitable. I choose Alex." She turned to the crowd, to her mother who was crying. "I'm sorry you came here expecting a celebration," Amelia said. "But the only thing I'm celebrating today is freedom. Freedom from a man who never loved me for who I am. And if anyone has a problem with my choice, you can leave now." No one moved. Her mother pushed through the crowd and pulled Amelia into a fierce hug. "I'm sorry, baby," she whispered. "I pushed you toward him because I thought he was stable. I was wrong." "It's okay, Mom," Amelia said. You didn't know. Her mom pulled back and looked at Alex, really seeing him for the first time. You protected my daughter. I always will, Alex said. If she'll let me. Her mom nodded slowly, approval in her eyes. Thaddeus's expression had gone from charming to cold to something darker. When everyone's attention was on Amelia and her mother, he reached into his jacket. Amelia saw it first, the glint of metal. "Gun!" she screamed. Everything happened at once. People scattered, screaming. Alex immediately moved to shield Amelia, pushing her behind him. Thaddeus raised the weapon, his mask completely shattered. "You took everything from me," Thaddeus snarled, aiming at Alex. "My future, my money, my woman. So I'm taking what you love most." Before he could fire, Zinnia's voice cut through the chaos. "Thaddeus, stop!" Everyone turned. Zinnia stood near the barn entrance, phone raised high, clearly recording. "I've been recording this entire conversation," Zinnia said loudly. "Your confession about the fake photos you threatened, the manipulation, the targeting Amelia for her inheritance, everything. And it's already uploaded to the cloud and sent to the police." Sirens wailed in the distance. Alex's security team, who'd been positioned discreetly around the venue, had called law enforcement the moment Thaddeus pulled the weapon. "You're done," Zinnia said. Thaddeus's hand shook. His eyes darted between Alex, Amelia, Zinnia, the crowd. His perfect plan. Unraveling. "If I can't have you," he said to Amelia, his voice breaking, "no one can." He swung the gun toward her. Alex didn't think, didn't hesitate. He lunged, covering Amelia's body with his own just as the shot rang out. But Thaddeus never got the shot off. Alex's security team tackled him from behind at the exact moment he squeezed the trigger. The bullet went wild, slamming into a wooden beam. Thaddeus hit the ground hard, the gun skittering away. He was screaming, thrashing, completely unhinged as security restrained him. "She's mine. She'll always be mine. Let me go." Police arrived seconds later, taking custody. As they hauled Thaddeus to his feet in handcuffs, he locked eyes with Amelia one last time. "You'll regret this," he said coldly. "You'll miss me. You'll realize I was the only one who ever truly saw you." Amelia stepped forward, Alex's arm around her waist, supporting her. "The only thing I regret is not seeing through you sooner. Goodbye, Thaddeus." He was shoved into a police car and driven away, still screaming her name. In the aftermath, Amelia was shaking uncontrollably. Alex held her while paramedics checked them both for injuries. Neither was hurt physically, but emotionally, Amelia was fracturing. "He almost killed you," she sobbed. You threw yourself in front of me. He could have." She couldn't finish sentences. "But he didn't," Alex said fiercely, gripping her face in both hands. "I'm here. You're here. We're safe. You could have died for me." "And I'd do it again," Alex said. "Every time. Without hesitation. Don't you understand? You're everything to me. Everything." Her mum approached, tears streaming down her face. She looked at Alex with new understanding. "You protected my daughter," she said. "You put yourself between her and a bullet." "I will always protect her," Alex said again. She pulled him into a hug, then Amelia, then both of them together. The police needed statements. The investigation took hours. Officers assured them that with Zinnia's recording, the multiple witnesses, and the attempted murder charge, Thaddeus would be going away for 15 to 20 years minimum. It was finally over. As they left the venue that evening, Amelia turned to Alex in the parking lot under the magnolia trees. "Take me home," she said. "Your place or mine?" Alex asked. Amelia smiled. Real and bright, and reaching her eyes. "Ours." 3 months passed. Thaddeus was formally charged and awaiting trial, held without bail given the severity of the charges and his clear intent to harm. Amelia moved permanently into the guest house, though she spent most nights in Alex's bed, wrapped in his arms. They built a life together, slowly and carefully. Amelia used part of her inheritance to open the Caleb Gardner Community Health Clinic in East Austin, a beautiful facility offering free health care to underserved communities. Alex volunteered there 3 days a week, doing patient intake and administrative work, just another person helping. Their engagement happened quietly, privately. Alex proposed in the kitchen while Amelia was cooking jollof rice, and he was still terrible at chopping onions. No grand gesture, no expensive restaurant. Just Alex on one knee with his grandmother's ring, asking if she'd spend the rest of her life with him. Amelia said yes before he finished the question. The wedding was small and intimate, held beneath the magnolia trees at the Hill Country venue, the same place Thaddeus had tried to destroy them. They reclaimed it, made it theirs, filled it with love instead of fear. 50 people attended, family and close friends only. Amelia walked down the aisle in a simple, elegant white dress, magnolia blossoms woven into her natural curls. Alex stood at the altar in a simple suit, tears streaming down his face as the love of his life approached. Her mum walked beside Amelia. When the officiant asked, "Who gives this woman?" she said clearly, "She gives herself. But we support her choice with all our hearts." Amelia stepped forward and took Alex's hands. They were both crying, both smiling. The officiant nodded to Alex. "Your vows." Alex took a shaking breath. "Amelia, the first time I saw you I was broken, literally and figuratively. You walked into that alley and saved my life without knowing who I was or what I could give you. You saw a man who needed help, and you helped him. Since that night, you've saved me 100 more times. From my loneliness, from my emptiness, from believing I'd never be loved for just being me." His voice was thick with emotion, but he didn't stop. "I promise to spend every day of my life earning the gift you've given me, your trust, your love, your heart," Alex continued. "I promise to protect you, cherish you, and see you, really see you, the way you've always deserved to be seen. I promise that whether we have everything or nothing, as long as I have you, I have enough. You saved me, Amelia. Now let me spend my life saving you back, not from danger, but from ever doubting how extraordinary you are. I love you, completely, eternally, as I am." Amelia was sobbing openly. She squeezed his hands and found her voice. "Alex, you walked into my life when I'd forgotten what it felt like to be valued," she said. "I was so lost in trying to be enough for the wrong person that I forgot what the right person should feel like. You reminded me. You saw me, not as a nurse, not as someone with or without money, not as broken or whole, just as Amelia. And you loved that person." She smiled through her tears. "I promise to always see you the same way," Amelia said. "Not as a billionaire, not as my savior. Just as Alex, the man who makes me laugh, who holds me when I cry, who would throw himself in front of danger to keep me safe. I promise to trust you, even when my past makes it hard. I promise to build a future with you, where we both choose each other every single day. You taught me that love isn't about what someone can give you, it's about who you become when you're with them. I'm the best version of myself when I'm with you. I love you, Alex Corvinian, with everything I am." The officiant barely got out by the power vested in me before Alex pulled Amelia into a deep, passionate kiss. The crowd cheered. Zinnia whooped. Lysander wiped tears discreetly. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Alex whispered against her lips, "Hi, wife." Amelia grinned. "Hi, husband." 6 months after the wedding, Amelia stood outside the Caleb Gardner Community Health Clinic, cutting a ribbon for the official grand opening. The building was beautiful, modern but warm, with Caleb's photo prominently displayed in the lobby. Alex stood beside her in jeans and a button-down, because they'd both decided to leave the billionaire aesthetic for galas and keep their real life normal. He volunteered at the clinic regularly, and patients loved him because he listened, really listened, and never made anyone feel less than. Their life was a blend of both worlds. They split time between a modest ranch house Amelia had chosen, with land and horses and room to breathe, and occasionally used Alex's resources for good. Funding clinics, creating scholarship programs, supporting communities. The final scene of their story happened on an ordinary evening, 6 months after the clinic opened. Amelia was in their kitchen, cooking jollof rice, while music played softly. Alex was attempting to help, still terrible at chopping after all this time. "You know, for a billionaire you're still a terrible cook," Amelia said, bumping him with her hip. "Good thing I married a woman who loves me despite my flaws," Alex said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "I married you because of your flaws," Amelia said, leaning back into his chest. "They make you real." Alex turned her around gently. "Dance with me." "There's no music," Amelia protested. "There's always music when I'm with you," Alex said. They slow danced in the kitchen. No music except their heartbeats and the slight sizzle of rice on the stove. Alex's hands were gentle on her waist, Amelia's arms around his neck. They swayed together, foreheads touching, eyes closed, completely at peace. On the refrigerator, held by a magnet, was a grainy security camera image from the night Amelia had saved Alex in the alley, the moment that started everything. Beneath it, a handwritten note in Alex's writing. "The night I stopped existing and started living." And beside it, in Amelia's writing, "The night I saved a stranger and found my home." They continued dancing, wrapped in each other's arms, backlit by warm kitchen light. Two people who'd been lost and broken, who'd found each other in the darkness and built something beautiful in the light. Outside, the Texas sky turned orange and violet with sunset. Inside, Alex and Amelia danced, loved, lived, and they were finally, truly, completely home. The end. My beautiful, amazing Pride family, thank you all for having me this year. And I'm grateful to each and every one of you for tuning into my stories. Thank you for all the support you've shown me through liking, commenting, sharing, criticizing when necessary, and motivating me to do better. You guys are the real MVPs. Happy New Year in advance. Let's meet again in 2026. Lots of love.